A Moment with Dr. Audreyann Moses.
This is Dr. Audreyann Moses, and this is A Moment with Dr. Audreyann Moses. And today we are going to talk about mentoring and how important it is to mentor in the right way. So I wrote a story about a community where the people decided that they were going to biologically manipulate the DNA of the children. Now, you know, people are trying to do that anyway. But in this case, what they wanted to do was to see if they could manipulate what types of jobs these kids wanted to do. So, you know, of course, as usual, people are always trying to do God's job. So in this story, they took people that were professionals and manipulated the DNA of the children so that the children would, some of the children would automatically become professional and some wouldn't. As it turned out, it didn't really work out that way. They also took people that were blue collar, what we used to call blue collar, you know, laborers, mechanics, welders, you know, construction people, nurses, doctors, whatever, you know, just any type. It didn't matter what the profession that the parents had. What mattered was how the children would determine which profession they were going to be in. And they basically didn't want the children to determine. They wanted to decide before the children were born. So they tried to manipulate the DNA. Of course, it didn't work. And the reason I was thinking about this is because a lot of times that's what we do anyway. A lot of times what we do is we try to manipulate what type of work our children are going to do. You know, as we look back through centuries, you know, children have learned how to be all types of things. They've learned how to be secretaries. They've learned how to be doctors. They've learned how to be construction workers. They've learned how to be bus drivers. They've learned how to be all of these things, carpenters and welders. But there was a time when they learned how to do those things because they were watching their parents, and their parents were mentoring them based on the type of work they were doing. And so kids learned how to be auto mechanics because they watched their fathers and uncles working on cars. And nowadays they can watch, you know, their mothers work on cars, because I know my nieces, they can break down a car quick because their father taught them how to do that. So what it was mentoring, when the parents took the kids alongside them, the mothers took the daughters alongside of them to teach them how to cook, to teach them how to bake, teach them how to do things in the house. Because, you know, in the 30s and 40s and 50s, that's what it was. Mothers took care of the house, dads went out and worked. And so when mentoring was happening, it was happening in that order. Girls were taught how to be mothers. Girls were taught how to take care of a household, how to cook, how to clean, how to sew, how to, you know, do all of this, and crafts, you know, to do crafts, to do pottery and all of those sort of things. Girls were taught how to do. Whereas boys were taught wood shopping and auto mechanics and, like I said, welding or whatever. So even after a child learned a trade, it didn't mean they had to stay in that trade. It just meant that that was the trade they were taught growing up. Now, there were parents who insisted that the children stay in those trades. So because that's how they make their money, so they assume that the children will make money the same way. So if the parents were farmers, they taught their children how to be farmers, and they expected the children to be farmers, to take over the family farm at some point when their parents wanted to retire. That just was the assumption. But if one of the children wanted to be a lawyer and didn't want to have anything to do with farming, or they wanted to be anything that wasn't involving getting dirty, the parents kind of had attitudes, because they kind of felt like, what's wrong with this profession fed you, this profession took care of you, this profession sent you to college, and you don't want to be here to help take care of the farm. But what parents didn't realize now, and what a lot of people still don't realize, is that God put all of us here on this earth for a reason. He has already instilled in us the types of professions that would work well for us. And it's maybe not just one, but he has already done that. We don't have to do that. We don't have to go behind God and remake our children. Our children were made in the image of him, just like we were. And we are the way we are now because, more than likely, we interfered with what God really wanted for us out of our lives. And I know that sounds kind of harsh. I don't mean for it to. And God is not like this tyrant that makes decisions based on only what he wants. He makes decisions based on what's best for us and what's best for the world. So as children start learning how to do different things, as they start maturing in their social ability, they start seeing, other types of other types of career paths, and they become interested in those other types of career paths. So what should we do as parents? Should we say, no, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a farmer, or should we help them to investigate being an artist or a musician or a nurse or a truck driver or whatever it is that they decide they want to do? So far, all of my grandsons are doing something totally different than what I was thinking that they would end up doing. But also my sons, both of them are doing something totally different. And they are happy in their jobs, and so I'm happy for them. I wasn't one of the type of parents that said, no, you can't do that. I just kind of let them work through it, and now, I have a son that's a detective in the police force. I have a son that's a chef. I have a grandson that does computer something or another, and in the Army, and one's in the Army, so they're doing different things, and they are happy at what they're doing. Unfortunately, there are children in the world whose parents don't allow them to do that, and that makes it really difficult for the child, because the child grows up in a profession that they really don't like, and they are not happy. So we're gonna be right back after this break.
I'm Mac Hardy. Come on down to McCormick Tire and Oil. We open Tuesday through Saturday from 7:30 to 5. And we specialize in oil, tires, and brakes, wheel bearings, CV axles. And but military discount is every day. And on Wednesday we have Senior Citizen Day. So come on down to McCormick Tire and Oil. We got everything you need. Thanks.
Welcome back. I wanted to make one point, that sometimes parents feel like they have done something wrong along the way, and that's why the children want to do something else. And 90% of the time, that is not the case. The children have enjoyed whatever it is. You know, they grew up on a farm, they enjoyed the farming, well, sort of. You know, they learned a lot about it. They enjoyed the time with their parents. But at some point, you know, they have decided they wanted to do something else. That's not a bad reflection on the parent. But sometimes parents take it that way, and because they take it that way, words are used that should not be used. Attitudes are bad, and it causes a sever in the relationship between the parent and the child when there shouldn't be one. You know, if the child is wanting to do something, even if it's they want to be an artist, even if they want to be a singer, you know, we always hear that phrase, starving artist, you know, but if that's what the child wants to do, then, you know, yes, teach the child, you know, the farming, but also give them an opportunity to investigate some of these other things. You know, at school, let them be on the choir, let them be on the band, let them, you know, be in art classes and things like that, where they can experience those other avenues and really get to kind of see if that's really where they want to go. Take them to museums, take them, you know, and maybe they get to meet other people, adults in the fields that they like, and maybe they might get to do some little mentoring with them as well, so that they can see if this is really where they want to go. And if it is, great, you know, they can go to college for those things, and they can make money. It's amazing that now, in this century, we still hear the same thing we heard back in the 20s and 30s. You can't make a living like that. You have to be a construction person. You have to have a job where you're going to get insurance. Insurance is important. It's very life insurance and health insurance are important, and they both are very expensive. And do they need them? Yes, they need them. But is it to the detriment of their happiness and of their way of feeling fulfilled throughout their life? No. So we have to think about those. From conception, I want to read this. From conception, our bodies and minds have been divinely designed for a certain purpose in this world. If we look at the precept of the nature-nurture debate, people are divinely designed by nature to be auto mechanics or president of the United States. When I talk about nature and nurture in psychology and in developmental psychology, which is what I do, it means if you're looking at how something is developed by nature, we're not talking about birds and trees. We're talking about an innate, coming from the inside, an automatic desire for certain things, an automatic knowledge of how to do certain things. Innate means that it's automatic, that it's just something that you just know how to do. You know, it's like kids are either right-handed or left-handed. We don't teach them to be right-handed or left-handed. It's just automatic. That is nature. That is innate in them. You have kids that from little, you give them trucks, and instead of zoom, 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 zoom across the floor, they take the truck apart, put it back together, perfect. That's innate. Nobody taught them how to do that they just did it. So nurture, on the other hand, is environmental. Environmental meaning, again, we're not talking about oil and water. We're not talking about that. We're talking about your surroundings. Children learn how to do things based on their surroundings. So if they are around musicians, they learn music. If they are around artists, they learn artists. If they are around auto mechanics, they learn to be an auto mechanic. Those are learned. It's not necessarily innate, because that child that learned how to be an auto mechanic may want to be a piano player, and there's no one around them that can teach them how to be a piano player. But when they are near a piano, they are on the piano and they are picking out the notes, you know. And now with YouTube, they can learn to play the piano just from YouTube. So they go to church and they sit at the piano and they're just kind of picking at the piano. And somebody will notice that they are always like to be around that piano, and that person may come and start teaching them how to play, you know, and it will come easy for them because it's innate in them. And they have the privilege of also having the nurture part because there is somebody teaching them how to do something that they really want to learn how to do. So you have nature, which is in you automatically, it's just there, and you have nurture, which is taught. Okay, so we have these children that are learning in one way or both how to do certain things. However, what normally happens, this is what normally happens, even in today, is we determine through environment what a child should be. And that's not good, because a child their parents both may be lawyers. The child could care less about law. And when I mean law, I mean studying it. The child doesn't want to be in an argumentative state, 8 hours a day, every day. They don't want to do that. But their parents expect them to do that. And other people, well, your father's a lawyer, your mother's a lawyer. What do you mean you don't want to be a lawyer? No, I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be a nurse, And so we have that issue in the family where it's just like they're pulling each other, trying to, make it innate in the child, trying to make it a nature thing when it's not a nature thing. It's only going to be a learned thing. And if the child gives in and says, okay, fine, because the parent has said, well, you can be a lawyer or you can figure out how to pay your own tuition for college. And I have had that happen. I was an advisor at university. I had a parent come to me because the child was studying biology. The parents were doctors. Child was studying biology because that's what the parents said they'll pay for, when she really wanted to be a psychologist, a child psychologist. And they said, well, she can pay for it herself if that's what she wanted to do. Pitiful. And I told them that. I said, that is the most selfish thing I've ever heard in my life. But they gave in eventually. But the child, actually what the child did for the next whole year, I think her junior year, because she had gone through freshman and sophomore, her junior year, she paid for her own college. She worked, she studied, she got loans and everything so that she could pay for it herself. And then her parents came in and, rescued her after they realized that she was really serious about what she wanted to do. But how sad it is that they had to go through all of that first. But that's what happened. I was talking about this earlier, as we watch infants, we can see how they play, can let you know what type of career choice that they would probably want to be. It doesn't mean that they are going to be it. If like my niece is 5 and she has her little doctor's bag and her stethoscope, I can't say that word, but and everything, and she takes care of the animals, her little animals. And when I got sick, she came in and she's checking my temperature and she's checking my heart, listening to my heart and everything, because she's the doctor. And that's what she's wanting to be today, but she's 5. So as long as she's wanting to be a doctor, then we're going to help to steer her in that direction. But if at some point she decides to do something else, then, we'll help her to make sure that she is really going in the direction that she wants to go to, or is she going in the direction that someone else is trying to turn her into. Because you do see that problem a lot, especially in schools and especially in certain neighborhoods. People are saying, well, you're from this neighborhood, and so this is what you need to be. And, because you really can't do anything else, which is, baloney. So to make it, it's ridiculous that people would say that. People would come to a school just because the school is in a certain community. The counselors will say, oh, you go to this school and you are doing, your parents are this, or your neighborhood is that. And so, you are going to learn how to do finances, and you're going to be a banker, or you're going to be a this or that, just because of the neighborhood that the person is in. And we will be right back. Welcome back. As I was saying, we can't use the neighborhood as a focus or as a thermostat for what a child could do. Just because a child lives in a certain environment where we think, okay, this child is definitely going to be, a stockbroker, or this child is definitely going to be a doctor, nurse, a lawyer, whatever. And then this other child can only be a work in construction, or can only be a welder, or can only be a teller at a fast food place. That is unfair to that child, and it's unfair to America, because we are stifling what children are actually divinely, innately designed to do. And that is not our job. That's God's job. Let God do his job. And we can help wherever we can. We can help that child to focus in the correct direction that that child wants to go. Now, of course, we have to be logical, and we have to be grown-ups. If the child wants to be a drug dealer, then of course, no. No. If the child wants to be a hitman for the mafia, no. Be logical. But other than that, we have to make sure that children are going into jobs that not only they like, but yes, that they can support themselves in. And just because you knew somebody that was a musician and they never made any money, that's fine. That was on them. They did what they did. That has nothing to do with your child. But it will have a lot to do with you, because your mindset is already set in a place where this is not going to work. And you have to get your mind out of that place if you want to help your child. Even if we are Christians, we have to encourage children to be what they can be. And the reason I say that is because we don't want, as Christians, to take, again, I'm saying this again, we don't want as Christians to take away God's job. But as Christians, we want to be able to recognize the nature that this child is walking in and help that child walk in that, because we want to feel that that child is walking in the way that God wants them to walk. You know, and if they change their mind, fine, help them. You know, it's okay to change your mind. I mean, we see people, they work 20 years in a job, you know, and then all of a sudden they don't want to do that anymore. They want to do something else. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because we continue to learn and we are able to learn. So learn to do something new and that you are going to be happy in, and that is going to make you be a better person, a better human, a better adult, a better parent, you know, so that's okay. It's so easy nowadays. People are saying that they are letting nature take its course. But when they are trying to say people are something else, and so they can't do this job, they, like I was saying earlier, you come from this neighborhood, you come from this lifestyle or whatever, so you can't do that type of a job. But we try to say that God divinely did things that he didn't do. If we are forcing a child into being a farmer, and that child doesn't want to be a farmer, that's not God, that's us. And we just have to realize that. Yes, God gave me the farm. God gave me the ability to make money on the farm. Maybe he didn't give that to my child. So I have to make sure that I don't use God's name in vain when I'm trying to help my child. So the best thing for us to do is to not interrupt what God has designed. Instead, work with God to mentor our children so that they can be a better person and we can have a better world. I thank you. This is Dr. Audreyann Moses, and be blessed.
Tune in to the Quartet Show every Sunday at 8 p.m. with the Godfather Quartet, Brother Corey Johnson, on WCTL Channel 20. Come on and get you some of that good old hand-clapping, foot-stomping music. Again, that's the Quartet Show with the Godfather Quartet, Brother Corey Johnson.